Here's another battery that's come my way. Another one that's too big to fit in the frame. Or some of it at least. The rest is in a carrier bag. Here's the shortened backstory to this one. The customer bought it and tried it and it was okay. Then he tried to charge it and it was charging, but this gauge only went up to the 3rd bar and not to the maximum. So he thought there was something wrong with it and he dismantled it, and in doing so sliced a couple of wires, and there somewhere. So fearing for the worst, he put it back together and put it in the shed and left it for a year. Let me check on the balance plug for some voltages. This seems to be, I think it's a 13S. There's 4.2s, 4, 3.9. It's a little bit imbalanced, but all 6 cells are there in that group. Let's move this up one. Check the next 6. Ah, 0 volts on one of them. Just check the last one. Well, I need this number 6 on this one. Okay, so one of these cell groups showing 0 volts. Maybe that's the wire that they cut. I think he put this fish tape on after he sliced the wires. He said he'd repaired the wire, but let's take this paper off and have a good look. This seems to be where he sliced into the wires. There's one there, and one here. The customer's an auto electrician, so I assume he knows how to join wires, and he does. Nothing wrong with those. So let me try and find that low voltage bank. That's something I don't like to see. I'm going handheld here so we can get a little bit closer. If that can focus. Put my whole hand behind it, try again. Nice and blurry. There's another thing I don't like to see is, or are, wires resting on the bare cells like that without any insulation on the tops of the cells. I think I found the dead bank of cells. 0 volts. Let's try that one next to it. 4.07. That's 1. That's positive. Yeah, so is the last bank, but 2, 0. All the others around it are fine or fine-ish. This bank of 8 cells showing no voltage. So this is going to be an 8 in parallel, 13 in series. And while I'm looking at the cells, I'll show you what make, or rather what no make these are. See that through the captain. FST 18650, 2500s made in China. Well, everything's made in China, but these are probably Chinese generic cells. This is probably why the battery gauge wasn't showing full. So it's showing 4.2 volts less than it should have because of this one dead bank. I don't think much of this nickel strip design on this pack. A lot of these aren't cross-braced on these negative sides. You should have them for current distribution, I'd have thought. I've had to go ahead to replace that bank of cells. You see I've already taken out. and as always ended up with multiple puncture wounds, sharp nickel bits. Do you want a close-up of this bank? See this one by my thumb? That's got rust around the anode, positive side. It's probably just one cell that dragged the whole lot down. If this went short, you know, drag these down with it. This battery pack is just reminding me of something. It looks like my front teeth now with one missing. I'll have to get to dentist during COVID. These are the cells I intend to replace the old knacker ones. These are LG Lucky Gold Star, as they used to be known cells. Proper high discharge, 20 amps each. And these are just the horrible generic FST, whatever it was. That's the new battery pack halfway in. Let's make that these LG ones. Done with a bit of welding. Now we need to connect it horizontally. I'm charging up the new group separately using a Akasol charger. All of these are about 4.1 volts. This new one's only about 3.5. Let's see what that bank is charged up to. 4.02. Next to it. Yes, close enough. Now that one's done. I've got another 2 banks to charge down there somewhere to balance them up. They're on about 3.8 volts. Charge those up to balance them. All up, no extra charge. And while I was balance charging the remaining groups, I think it's about 4 or 5 altogether, I was rummaging through his box of bits that he had. This is the end cap on incorporating the lights. There's another charging port on there, and there's one on the other cap as well, but there's only one wire going into that, so it looks like I'll have to take that apart and see what we can do, see what I can do. I've taken this apart. There's only one wire going into the circuit board. As it looks like. The lights in focus, yes we have. So red one going to that side, so probably black going into unoccupied pad there. That's the black wire replaced. That's the last of the banks balance charged. You can see that. That's taking about 2 amp hours in. Now hopefully this whole battery should be fairly well balanced. As I was checking the individual cell voltages, one of the balance wires has come off the pack somewhere. I'll have that rectified. As I may have mentioned previously, I really don't like wires sitting on top of the bare cells, so I've got some tape separating them for insulation. Now that I've insulated those balance wires and routed them as best I can, something like that, and I've mounted the BMS and connected the balance plug, I think it's time to see if it works. I'm going to look for the key that's supplied with this. So we can turn on the BMS, 2 wires coming from the switch to the BMS to switch it on. 3 position switch. There you go. 53 volts. I think I should try charging it first before going any further. And the battery charger is a, what the hell does that say? Zane? Nope, me neither. with this connector. Go on. And contact. Hey. Red light for charging. What was the voltage? 52.8, wasn't it? So the voltage is increasing, that means it's charging. According to the charger, that's full. What does the meter say? 53.4. Thought they were supposed to go up to 54.6, was it? It's supposed to be 54.6, so it's about 1 volt shy. That's my setup for the discharge. Individual cell voltages, discharge current, and the main voltage. I don't know about the wattage of this motor. I assume it's fairly hefty. I'm not going to give it too much. I'm going to aim for about 7 amps. Let's see. Is that 9 amps? Close enough. I'm using this setup so I can see if there are any weak groups in there. These cells are cold to the touch. There's only about 1 amp each cell coming out of them, that's fine. It's been running for about 15 minutes. It's 8.7 amps. Individual cell voltage fairly well balanced, I think. Right, that's enough testing. Time to put it back together. I've reused the screen paper that the pack came wrapped in, and the customer supplied some shrink wrap as well, even though I think it's probably a little bit too big. I'll try it. And yes, it was too big, and yes, I've used my own slightly smaller. That's not too bad, is it? And all the kings in hell, I've never seen a battery pack this tight. That's ridiculous. There's no room. There's a little lump on there, which is probably the positive from the battery pack. That's stopping it from going in. Makes me wonder if this battery pack has ever been inside that housing, because I haven't changed anything on this. Big lumps sticking out. So what I'll try to do, I'll try and move it from that face and stick it on there. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier. Instead of being on this face, it's now on the side of the cell. Let's see if that'll do. If not, it's going back to the customer with, sorry. I'm going to call that a just about. Good God. Horrific. Let's hope now it doesn't short out against the case. It's scraped its way in, I think. And a little bit more work needed doing. Connected the wires from the BMS side onto the tail side. So we now have a running light. Oh, and a gauge. See? Yep. It was saying that this gauge never showed full originally, but I have discharged it a little bit, so probably that's why. If I give it a charge before sending it back, it may go onto full. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, that was male queen horrible. King horrible. Bloody hell. Never again. So, this may be on the right way around, may not be. So need this BMS switches itself off if it's not being used. It's not in the right place, is it? I'll try that. There you go. So that still works. The lights work. Yes, they do. I believe that's it for this Exco battery. If you found that painful, I certainly did. Give me a thumbs down, a thumbs up, and nobody sent me kebab yet. Shame on you. Kebab.